Some of the clothes.
And so the next time you can see Borough Council legislation.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sure. Representative Hughes, Zavala. Here. Giacomo. Here. Ferraro. Here. Trevor. Here. Norris. Brick.
Here.
Is there any public comment tonight?
What concerns me deeply is the proposal the last report presented. The one figure this don't make any sense. They said they want 2.9 million, you get 8.3 million. Probably wouldn't say they're going to give you 2.9. You'll keep these two parts. $4 million for the police station means you got $9 million tied up in anything else. That doesn't make any sense. You have 5 acres here in homeless parking, and you got $9 million, and you don't own it. You keep going. Or you'll get 8.3. They're still not going to pay for the police station, so you're still going to have $4 or $5 million tied up. Police station that you're leasing back for 30 years. Makes no sense at all. Makes absolutely no sense at all. Plus, tearing down expensive, making it walkable, you have more traffic problems down here on State Street, through school, through South Indian Street, South Street. You guys are congested. The schools come in and out. And the kids get to school, whatever it is, whatever it doesn't make any sense. So I made a call to turn down the policy. They give me a little extra. I want to know why you are not advertising. Over 50% of your population not even that building. Over 50% of your own population don't even live in 30%. Probably more like 70%. The law is very specific. You gotta get the highest and best price you can. I mean, everybody's gotta know that. And right now, nobody knows what you're selling and what you're not selling. I don't care who wants it, who doesn't want it, but everybody's gotta know. And you're not doing that. You're going through that damn economic development. And I had 40 years experience in economic development. Gary's spoken about each other for 40 years. Economic development is on a scale, Chester County. And there's several reasons for it. Bunch of people got together, very bright and very smart. In fact, when I first saw this happen with our yard, and then the bank, and a couple of real, and they don't even compete with one another. They come up with a project, this guy gets it. They come up with a different project, this guy gets it. It's all architectural. It's like a club. Unfortunately, that's the way that business goes. So you can't deal with just economic growth. They're not even competing with one another for this problem. Take the term. If you're in an apartment, they have guys that deal with apartments. Look at Boulevar's new shopping center. It's the guy from California's doing it. Why? He's tied in with economic development. You tell me if there's billionaires in New York or New England or the East Coast that you want to do New York, it's all who you know and who you deal with. And this, I don't think the people understand. You're not getting it out to the public. And the people here have a right to have their properties put on the market. So you know whether you want to rent them, when you want to sell them, what you're willing to sell and what you're not willing to sell. Going through economic development is one phase, but that's a different phase altogether. You need to get out to the public. Everybody's got to know about what you got for sale, what you got, and what you might have for sale. It's got to be advertised, and it's got to be all over. You got to spend a little money. If not, you're breaking the law. You're breaking Pennsylvania municipal law, which you're breaking. You can't go to one end and handpick what you want to put here. If you got something for sale, it's got to be open to the public, and you all have to have a shot at it. When we sold the ground, we had to spray irrigation. We had a meeting in the Borough Hall. There must have been 40 either realtors, builders, investors in that meeting. 40 of them. Got no bid with it. Biggest offer we got was $6 million. We had $12 million. We needed another 100 acres, so I wouldn't more to it. So we didn't take any of it. That was because they were all saying, well, I won't pay too much. End up selling for 11 million. The only reason we sell for more is because the borough wasted money designing a golf course. We didn't even have the ground yet. We designed the golf course for $500,000. Who's going to buy a golf course where they're going to build houses? They're going to build a golf course. That's what the borough. Your responsibility is to take care of the citizens. You represent us. You do not represent yourself or your own opinion or your own wishes. And I want to stop saying that you can have a development, you have a source to go through to go down. Source to get some money out of it. If you're going through that to get buyers to this place or any other place you got, you're going to be limited what you get. Because you're not going to compete with them. Because the next one comes along, and the next one comes along, they take turns. And they have a pretty tight grip on this economic development. That was and 2.9, I mean, I ended up with $9 million debt. I don't own anything. It's stupid. Even $4 million, I mean, we lost money when we sold the Borough building up there in the courthouse. We lost 10 years worth of profit because council settled. We had to break the contract. Would have been an ideal borough. Because the court would have made a great meeting. It was all remodeled. What we do, we paid them $200,000-300,000 to break the contract. We only got $2,700 a month, $31,000 a year for 10 years. They have $200,000-300,000. We didn't make any money on it. They made it well over $1 million. Well over $1 million, a lot more than that. And then we pay $942,000 for a present board at the same time. They skinned us raw. Now we got a parking garage we can't fill. We got debt we can't deal with because people in the last council made these decisions. And some of you are still on here. Wake up, people. Wake up. You work for the people, not for yourselves. And you got to tell people what you're spending. What did you spend on this place so far? You don't know. How much bond should you take? We don't know. We know you paid 8.3. Is that work done after the last $1.5 million? No. It's over a year. That work's not finished yet. The money's still in escrow controlled by Jensen. And then you're going to, and one of the questions I had, how many people in the last 2 years have we kept everything in jail? We don't keep people in jail. We take them to the county. What do we need a $4 million police station for? You got a holding cell. I mean, you got a building. You're just fitting it out. You don't need $4 million. I mean, it'd be nice if you could afford it, but we don't need that. We never have. Police station used to be in the old borough building with the borough council and the borough board. There was a police station in the borough council when I was young. They were all in the same building, that little building we tore down. Now we got a $4 million plus what we paid for the building. Police station. That's what we got county detectives, that's what we got county, state police. I mean, we're not a city police department. We don't need to spend $4 million. Well, we spent what, $296 for an architect and design. I'll tell you about architect. I was on the wide board, they spent money. Architects design things to win awards so they get more contracts. We had to change 3 things on it that were safety issues because the design was beautiful. This wasn't a safety issue, but it didn't suit him to make it safe until we had to call him on. We had to fix it. He designed a beautiful building, but it didn't make sense. The inventory was dark and damp. Safety issue. Architect design to win awards to get more time. They don't design to make sense. Please take it and worry about us.
Any other questions?
Hello, my name is Nicholas Montroy and I live on 601 East Coast Road. This is my first time speaking here, but I was here last month when the proposal was put across for basically the purchasing of this lot. I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. This is kind of my first time speaking in a formal government setting. I just feel grateful for that opportunity to voice my opinion. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you to the audience for listening to me too. So I've lived in Kennett Square for 25 years, out and around it, more or less. I used to live in Knoxon Farms growing up, and then I moved to Wilmington when I came back and lived around 842 Warwick Road, and now I live in 601 East Coast Road. So I've been like out and farming now in the town, and I love this town. I love Kennett Square, and I'm proud of this town very much. And when I think of the past 30 years, and I think of what the next 30 years, what this town could look like, projects like the one that Jeff and Bo presented last month really excite me. And I don't claim to be an expert on development by any means, but I can just kind of speak about passion and community because those are the things that are important to me. I met Jeff at the YMCA here, and to me, that's one of like the shining examples of community in our town. It's a place where I get to meet a lot of different types of people of different ages and hear a lot of different opinions about our community, and I value that time that I have. And everything about the idea of development in this lot kind of speaks to that idea of community to me. It speaks to inclusivity as well, whether that be through the variety of housing and the variety of prices, different types of storefronts, encouraging local businesses and people to kind of just come and congregate. All those things just sound really exciting to me when I think about a town where I would want my kids to grow up in. When it comes to the challenges of population density and what works well, again, I'm not a professional in that, but I know that this plan spoke towards making our town more beautiful, making our town more inclusive, making our town more affordable for people to enjoy it, and making our town better for us as well. And one thing I did learn at the last meeting is that it seems that we're in some debt as well. And this project also speaks to maybe relieving some of that financial burden. And I just kind of went through those things on the PDF file too. So again, I just want to say thank you for listening to me, and that ideas like Jeff and Bo's are super exciting to the youth. At least for me, I will speak for all of the youth, but some youth of Pettit Square, I think we kind of are in line with a lot of what he's thinking. And then an added benefit is that they're from Pettit Square. It's not just like an outside builder, like they're from this town. And again, I'm always proud of things that are local, and I think that's something that we can all be proud of too. So anyway, that was a little bit of a ramble, but thank you for listening.
Claire Saxton, 120 West Linden Street. I think there's no question that it was an adorable presentation, adorable buildings, lots of fancy rhetoric, and that word attainable that everybody sort of thought meant affordable. And $350 a square foot is not affordable, and it's only attainable if you have a really big bucket of money. That's not necessarily what the people that we're representing in this town need. And I think we need to think this through much more closely before we begin to make that kind of decision. Thank you.
Watson, 523 Magnolia Street in Pettit Square. We're hearing a lot today, and a lot of stuff is being said is very sound. You're 7 people out of you. Okay, and I know he's almost 7 months. We can't even catch rounds. By the way, we didn't even stop a moment. Our old president of the council that had been here many years, Hayes, since the last month when we had a meeting, we made no mention of him. And Kenny Roberts he was a trendsetter. I think he was a lot of years, and he was a pioneer, and he was here with a lot of professional men who knew what they were talking about, and everybody's interest was the citizens and the town. Period. And that's what I'm asking you to get back to. We're so far from it. It's just like if I worked in the field of education. And the more we saw education be watered down, dissected, now the textbook is the curriculum, you don't even write your own and that kind of thing. We knew how far we were from reality of what people did before us to set the groundwork. That was the infrastructure for America, to take our youth on into adulthood. And we know that we felt, many of us veterans, and all across America, you can see it because people have vacated teaching, that we want to be able to reinvent the wheel. When you get so far from where you're at, you cannot reinvent the wheel. And I'm telling you one thing, I don't think the people we have in America are not today, or as astute as the people who yesterday, who did everything from routine. There's nothing old about routine. You only learn one way. And when you learn it, you know it forever. And I'm asking you to open your mind, to get vocal, and start moving. I said when I first came up there, I wouldn't have my push. But now I can't keep that promise. Because I expect to hear from you. I expect you to be saying really key points, dynamic things that are for 100% of our community and represent the fact that taxes, because I heard that taxes going on. And that wasn't good. Even being considered. Because we as citizens are going to pay the price for your mistakes. We're paying the price for the second garage. We're paying the price for this first garage, in case you don't know, it's not education. It was to be paid off in 2023. That bond. Bosley and the finance committee came in here, said they needed to do some repairs on top of them, but needed to float another bond. We don't know when that bond starts and stops. Okay, we don't know the amount of money for it. Then we had number 2 bond for the second garage. to be built. And we have two empty white elephants uptown. But we built a second garage and we're only 1 square mile and we're built on the backs of migrant agricultural workers. Our average income is affected here from the fact of that, and we're other things, but we like to spend it in our neighborhoods. So we've been running in debt, and then we sold 2 buildings. We're in the process of selling the second one. Yes, sometime along the way. But we sold our old building, and we lost money when the people left, and it's just that door. Nobody was in it for a minute. Then they bought Marshall Street, that they put too much money in to do. And I don't know how much you're going to get back out of it because it's in a nothing place. That's a location. If anybody wants it, God bless. But that's one of the worst locations in the world, if you ask me. And everything could go in there being an office. And offices, I don't think make the kind of money that you would want if you had a real private community up there. So I'm asking you to, if you can't vote your own committees, you can't, you can meet. Because we need you to vote. We don't need you to be a stalemate 3, 3, and 3 all the time. We need everybody here voting for the citizens. We don't need our taxes to go up. We need you to open the advertisement to the newspapers. Pass that internet. There's some in Chester County Press, I think it still exists in Daily Open News. And when you put stuff on that internet, you just got a fraction of that Wednesday. Just imagine if you keep it in the paper and keep it going. We need to hear from the public. There should never have been a presentation here. From one person giving us a presentation trying to sell something. Because it's unfair. It's unfair to all the other applicants who might come in or people who are contenders. It's like when you interview. They all get the same questions at the same time. You don't give nobody no heads up or favors or coming in. I don't care who they are, what they look like. This is how the application process goes. You open it at the bid, you get the people, and you start seeing with the same sort of questions and properties as each other. Then you make the decision. That's not what's happening here. We've been watching too many presentations that didn't deserve it to be taken up time up here. And the last one was wrong. Sorry. And the other thing is that commissioners. I've heard some things being said, and we're going to say this. Mr. Getty Baker's not sitting here tonight, it's Mr. Pratt. But his co-worker that sits there is the we say, what kind of lawyers here? Tell me he was a science.
He does everything, including municipal.
Okay. You cannot keep having people coming in here, keeping us from our government because you find ways to try to triple it. Because that's what we used in the past. They have members on our boards that are not citizens. If they're not a citizen here, they shouldn't be on anything. We've been finding. We've had it before. We can have people work here that are building the housing, the planning, the zoning. We don't need outsiders. And we shouldn't have because I think the ACLU is what I was getting. We'll have a big problem with you not letting us be a part of our government. And you're bringing a stranger into the rest of our town. That has to stop. That has to stop. Speaking here, if you're not a citizen, you can't be here. Just speak. I was thinking, we know the merchants do. We understand that because they're related to us. They keep a happy environment. The first. They always had a spokesman. Barbara Bode was the merchant spokesman for years. So any concerns came from her. We want you to get back to real, so you get those pencils and things right, the real stuff, so you can make decisions and you can be the person proposing what's good for the citizen. That's not happening. And it's really out of law. The government right now is holding. You got to control it. It's all I'm saying. For that, sorry, I can ask you when I come to this building. I feel the most. But also, that's something I had the commission say. You have to open it. You have to open that stuff up. You can't have everybody coming in here doing the juggling act when they want to. Can't work. We can't afford this building in closing. We cannot afford this building. That's the biggest mistake. And you can't keep going forward like it's not, keep on making more, mistakes. We can't afford it. Did you hear about the bonds? Do you have any total bond usage we have? Find it out, please. The total bonds we have that to. The reason we borrow. Find out, please. We need to have answers to that. We can't afford anything else here. And certainly we keep asking for millions hand over fist. I don't know who's running our town, but people that are not from here, like the library. Because it wasn't Kennet citizens who drove that to have that big development. And we all supported the library. Don't forget it, we supported the library. Okay, thank you.
Is there any further comments?
May I address just any kind of misrepresentations, just quickly? I'll be quick. Thank you, so Borough, speaking on behalf of the project we presented last time. Appreciate all of this. Just a few comments. So I think the comment about the price point is based on comment I made kind of right at the end. So there'd be a very broad range of cost per square foot. We're looking at what's in the market and trying to kind of address prices based on that market. So, I mean, we're looking at everything from mid twos to mid threes to broad ranges of the market's offering us. That is based on things, factors that we do not control. Do not control the cost of 2x4s, the cost of concrete, some of those costs. So we're trying to kind of focus on what we can control. That's size of units and some of these other factors that provide attainable housing. There's a real commitment to attainable housing, trying to figure out how we do that and do it well. And those are both rental and for sale. And so it's not just all for sale. Again, I appreciate the comment. We have a commitment to kind of attainability, so appreciate that comment and kind of holding us to that. On the two offers, again, appreciate just trying to clarify some of the numbers that were shared. The two offers were 8.6 and 2.75. Again, that is based on a lot of factors. I think one thing that the borough needs to consider is that this property was purchased at literal all-time low interest rates. Interest rates have gone up over 200 basis points since then. That is a huge factor in the cost of debt, cost of borrowing for this. I agree that personally agree that the borough can't afford to hold on to this if it's not going to be activated, if nothing's happening to it. Purchase it at all-time low interest rates. What happens when that rolls over? What does that look like? And then on the comments of CCEDC, so I'll just note, we followed the process. No one from CCEDC, the Chester County Economic Development Council, reached out to us. We're not part of the inside track there. No one from there has talked with us. No one recommended us or anything like that. I've not talked with anyone there. So we have no inside track there. We just try to follow the process, submit something that we think is compelling for the town. And frankly, I think when we open it up, and I agree, definitely as a public process, it needs to be shared broadly. It needs to be accessible to the public. The more this is advertised nationally, you are going to get those California developers who are going to come in here, outbid almost anyone sitting in this room. They're not going to build quality. What we're trying to do is provide a commitment to quality, a commitment to some of the things that we've heard this borough express. The two things, priorities I've heard for the year are kind of balancing the budget and figuring out some of the maintenance issues that the borough has, and providing attainable housing. So we're trying to, within what we can control, do both of those things, contribute to them. We would very much as a partnership welcome the borough to come back to us and push us on those things and say, hey, attainable housing is a key priority for us. How can we do this better? We are there, like we're committed to that. There's no proposal on the table that solves those two problems better than ours does. We are trying to help the borough financially by putting in an offer, been flexible on those offers, and really trying to provide attainable housing and kind of the things that we can control. We can't control 2x4s, we can't control interest rates, but there are things that we can control at the local level, and we're trying to kind of control those things. So just some kind of clarification comments is helpful. Thank you.
we pull.
Any discussion? All in favor? We'll move on to the action items on commissions, authorize activity, human relations commission ordinance, update to advertising. Is there a motion?
Our solicitor gave us some suggestions on the 5 minutes based on just my comments. I think the brief of the council on Monday is voting on the new language.
Yeah, I'd be voting on that. So it's what Chris sent around today, but for everyone's edification, it modifies the provision that deals with the makeup of the Human Relations Committee or Commission so that it is, oh guys, he's got a lot of language here, 3 to 9 members, and you either have to be a resident of the borough or an employee of an employer located within the borough limits who actively works for the employer for at least 25 hours per week per calendar year. That's the basic gist. There's more legalese language in there, but that's what's been incorporated.
This is simply to advertise.
Correct, yep. So then Joel will be ready for action at the November meeting.
Chris did provide some language on for that motion, approve the suggested amendments to ordinance 96, the draft is always finalized. The draft ordinance as amended for consideration by council. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion?
I'm happy to make a motion. Yeah.
A second? Second? Next item is to consider the approval of Act 57 at the Kingston tax collector.
And here I added some additional clarification language in the Act 57 resolution in the whereas provision. Try my best as a lawyer to explain in layman's terms what it's attempting to hit at, which is if you own a home within that first year of ownership, you don't get the tax bill for whatever reason because it goes to the mortgage company, because it goes to the prior owner. There's a process that Act 57 puts in place that you can have the penalty 10% waived if you do certain things. So what we're doing really tracks with the law, the new law says. So nothing more, nothing less.
Is there a motion?
I don't know to approve Act 57.
Second? Any council discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and for the approval of council minutes, I don't have
We've done all that.
and then we can move on to the work item.
And the ones that you can-
Is there any discussion on Halloween?
We would just like to clarify, that if we're closing the street, we're not closing Union Street. So
That's what was proposed.
Like 100 block east and 100 block west.
That's my understanding of what was proposed as well.
It is not really going to be. Is there going to be any events in the street, or is it just?
Not within the union. It would be on the side, so not. So, but yes, if your question is, what would be activities on either side of 100 blocks of East or West State Street? Yes.
So is there a concern with the family's property Union Street as well?
Karma did not feel like there was a concern with that. It was more just, kids wandering off. And some of this neighborhood, those sidewalks are narrow, so kids kind of wandering and they should be there. I mean, if it was like a safety issue and the borough wanted to close down Union, I think it's better for safety, but I also recognize that causes, a lot of additional traffic problems. So it's
Just trying to think of the logistics. So Thursday night, is that Thursday night, it's still gonna be closed there's one more Thursday after the third Thursday, which is the night out.
right.
The 20th.
Yeah. Right. So they're gonna close, we're gonna close the street for 2 nights, so Thursday night and then Saturday during the afternoon.
Yes. I think it's 20.
Are the merchants okay with closing and the cost of closing it 2 nights?
So the third Thursday would be the 20th, so it would be that week. But the Thursday would be just the east side of State Street, just for 1 block. It'd be helpful, I can share the cost with them, but it's something that Lisa said that, Karma will cover the cost of that.
And have you heard from any merchants that are concerned with this?
Well, but the question is, were they asked? So that was what the question at public safety was. We know that the merchants on the west side particularly don't like having that block closed because of the deliveries. We know that Liberty Place doesn't like it because they can't get anybody down there for deliveries and there is no alternative to get there. And then there's other restaurants there. Do we know, did anybody go and talk to those merchants specifically? Which is what came up in public safety.
2 things. I know Lisa, who is often, I'll just note, the one kind of leading the charge against closing it often. She said that herself on Monday. Once this, and a lot of the merchants want this, the merchants are really the one driving this. They're often the ones that don't want the closure. So I'll just point out, it's some of the folks that typically don't want the closures that do want this event. I know I have talked with Lily's and they are okay with it based on, it being 3 to 6 and opening back up during their busy hours. The only place that I have not talked with that has had some concerns in the past is I know they were sent an email and Lisa's close to them, but I have not personally talked with them, so can't guarantee that or express that.
Any other discussion?
If I could add one other thing, with the fact that we are proposing to keep Union open, part of our plan from a safety aspect is we are going to have somebody there crossing people in Union Street. And so that's going to factor into some of the costs that we did talk about, will have to come out of this, from the other night.
Have you ever thought about just having here in the parking lot?
Well, the whole point is to get people into the store. People being or to get people to bring their kids and come to the store. We have to get close. As a former merchant, we have close.
One other question. I know we don't know who's necessarily set up the closures, but we know how people are actually participating and how many businesses are actually.
I don't have an exact number. It's the majority of the merchants are participating. So not the restaurants, but one of the shops are participating. And they typically participate. There is a high participation rate for this event, meaning a lot of the merchants do get out and stay open for it. Yeah, sorry, I don't have more answers to these questions. They're good questions.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the non-agenda?
Yes, I'll make the motion to approve the that request.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion passes. Okay, and, I think we're gonna take a 5-minute break, in order to set up the, budget, proposal discussion.
Is there a general?
Right over there.
Oh,
Yep.
great. That gentleman's going.
Yeah, I think they did. I know that.
No. Today. Yeah, trying to get some stuff. I'm in the middle of like 5 things, like Zoom call. Okay. He's like, I kind of emails together. I said yesterday. I can't. Good luck. You figured it out. Yeah. Slow it down.
That's the problem. Yeah.
I think we're all ready here. My name is Kyle Coleman, I'm the borough manager, and most of you. This is an overview, so we'll go through the budget. Proposed budget tonight is the first draft, there is no building. We then vote November and December with kind of like a science fair that we've done in the past. So the objective is to get input. This will be on our website, line item detail, you can go through it. If you want to print a copy, we'll get you one. You can go through line by line, review what is in here, because realistically, we can't go line by line in this amount of time. I think it probably early next week we'll have that online, but we'll send out a notice when that happens. Once we get through this, we're lucky to have the Westtown Theater Group here. To some comments earlier, this was put out in the public RFP. We're going through and allowing people who have bid come in and give their proposals. So this is the second group up, and we're really happy to have you this one. So without further ado, let's get into the budget here. It's a bit of a long presentation. First off, thank you to the Finance Committee. It's been reviewed a couple times now, this budget, following up on a few reviews of the CIP, public safety review of the CIP, which is a big driver of this. Thank you to council for considering this and moving along the way. I think staff has done a really good job. I think we've added a lot more information, and we try to keep a really tight budget, which you'll see in some of these slides. And I thank the community. We've been trying to take input. I think that's reflected in here, but by all means, we have input. Let us know. We're always open. Quickly here, an agenda overview. So first, like we did last year, we start with principles that drive the budget. Those are things that we should be able to agree on based on council priorities. Then we get into the financial summary. So what it costs to do this plan? What are the projects that are really top line, major projects, major initiatives here? And then where we'll take council a chance to do some info. The first principle here, A, be transparent, B, be fiscally responsible, and 3, C, implement council priorities. So, first is be transparent, right? Whether the budget is great, whether it's a challenge, whether taxes are raised or cut, we have to be transparent about what we feel as professional staff are the realities of our town's finances and what projects need to be prioritized. The big push we're doing here is follow last year's budget. We're trying to address issues as we see them today. We don't believe we're kicking anything down the road. And that's a real priority for us. It's not about incredibly glossy projects. It's about dealing with real infrastructure needs we have and not pushing that down the road. And I think council through our strategy session has prioritized that. So that's really helpful for us to and then second, communicating to the public.
this is something that we're constantly trying to get better at. I don't think we mastered it yet. But this is another chance for us to try to do that, try to get better at it. Second, we're spending other people's money, and that's really important that everyone remembers. So there's a lot of care. We're very frugal with how we spend money, because it's not our money ultimately, and it's a really important trust that we've been given to manage that. And then second, about the last point, but unsustainably, do think we can continue in perpetuity. We don't come out with big bang this year, only fall back next year. Then three, and this really speaks to the distinction between our roles here, so everyone understands. Our role as staff is to inform, is to give advice. Council decides. Council ultimately decides here, and then we implement. So if everyone remembers the old GPS units, we'll give a bunch of destinations. Council picks the destinations. We give you either the quick route with the tolls or the long route without the tolls. Council makes that decision, and we can go a little this way, a little that way. We can stop for gas or food, but our job is to give the best route advice and to execute that route. The council decides where we're going. And then on that note, we had a strategic planning session open to the public. We had a pretty good turnout from the public about a month ago, a month and a half ago, and the clear priority from this council is capital improvement. So roads, alleys, buildings, investing in the hard infrastructure of the town that is really our bread and butter as a small municipal government. So, not going to vary the lead. This is the gist of the budget here. On the spending side, the objective is to improve capital and provide great service on a day-to-day basis. The cost to do that, we're proposing raising tax 6.75 to 10.25 mils and garbage fees by 2%. And now we'll get into kind of what those reasons are, what it looks like. So to give some background, let's go to the next few slides. This is a history of our taxes over the last 10 years. You can see there's a 0.4 mil increase in fiscal year 19. Before that, it was raised by 1 mil in 13. Those are the only increases since then, and our budgets are, subject to the same inflation that everyone else is dealing with for day to day. And really, our budgets don't track the growth of real estate values, the growth in this town. Unless there's a new development, we really aren't seeing new funds. So we're still working with these, legacy top line numbers, which is challenging. This puts in perspective where the proposed rate would put us. It would be above downtown. It would be at or below Hartford and Oxford. These numbers for downtown Hartford and Oxford are from 2021. So we just couldn't get the updated numbers yet, but it's likely that they're not slightly higher. And in talking with people from other cities, they're expecting increases this year as well to deal with the unprecedented cost of living increases. This is to get some perspective on the page for the property tax in the borough. Where do those funds actually go? What city services are funded by every dollar that we spend? So in the borough, under this proposing 23 with the rate change, we would be 10.25 mils. The school district rounding here, 31.9 mils. Chester County 4.6. And this is a breakdown here. We're in the aqua green. If the others stay where they are, this would represent an 8.1% increase in the total property tax bill for any given resident in the borough. And just quickly here, this is something that we take for granted, but it's not known by a lot of people. So here's some math on how you figure out what the actual impact is in dollars for a typical resident.
So there's something called a millage point. So what you do is you take the dollar per thousand of assessed value. The assessed value is about half, 53% of the market value. So you could, this is an example, if you have $100,000 home, it's valued at 100,000, home, condo, whatever. That works out to $182.51 in extra taxes proposed under this plan. The average home value in the borough based on the census is $266,000. That represents the $500 increase. That works out to a little over $40 per month, or a little over $1.25 per day. And that's under the proposed plan here. Yes. Obviously, those are really challenging things to take through, and it's known that that will cause harm to some people. We believe there's real benefits that necessitate it, but we understand those issues. Looking at the positive side, there are reasons to really be energetic about being in the borough, being part of what's going on here. This tax revenue shows a 19% increase since this year 2017, it's also calendar year 2017, of 19%. And so what that means is it's things like the earned income tax, it's things like the sales tax. So people are coming to the borough, people want to be part of the borough. This is a good indicator of economic performance of the borough. So there is positive growth here, and that's something that, you know, should be considered positive by all of us. So this is looking at, okay, if we're asking for such in revenue. Is it just going to operations? Is it admin? Is it overhead? So I want to go through each of our different departments and really work through how is our spending gone over time. These are day-to-day operations. This is not capital. Our spending for the 2023 budget for admin, finance, and code put together is to be cut by $119,000. If you look back to the last 5 years, it's a 1.4% annual growth. Even in that number, when you take out one-time payments for employees leaving the borough or grants, it's a $40,000 increase, which is, I think it works out to 4% increase. It's a very minor increase, well below half of the inflation growth projected for 2023. Secondly, looking at our streets department, which is dealing with growth in fuel and all of our equipment costs. They're going through the roof. This is showing a $13,000 increase, a $13,000 increase since 2018. The average growth is 2.5%. Now you see it went up and went drastically down, but that red line there is the growth that you take the first year and just add inflation. Get nothing more for it, just keep up with the value of the dollar. We're still significantly below that number. It looks like about $50,000 below just the value of money that we have. And then lastly here, policing. So you see this largely tracks CPI growth. We're actually a little bit below, $19,000 below. But policing is facing an unprecedented challenge in staffing, much like fire and EMS. We've had in the last year 4 out of 5 of our part-time officers start with the borough and leave to take full-time positions within the same year. I mean, we're only in October, and we've already lost 4 out of 5. So what this budget does is it strips out all of the extra costs. It's relatively harsh budget, to be honest. But it funds new full-time officers. It moves off of the part-time out of the reality that we're not keeping them. And you can see it's still below where CPI will have us. So it's controlling costs in a really good way, given really difficult staffing challenges. So the obvious question is, okay, we have good economic growth. We're controlling our costs on the operating side. but we're asking for a significant tax increase. Where is the money going? What's going on here? Those two things don't seem to connect. It's because this budget is a fundamental change in how we go about a budget here. If you look back the last 5 years, we allocated out of our general fund capital, not including vehicles. So taking things that are related to minor equipment, vehicles, looking at just money spent on capital in the general fund. It's 1% of our budget for the last 5 years. That's the average. And we're proposing taking it to 8.5%. If you think about it, if you own a home or you own a car, if you imagine spending 1% of your income on your home, on renovations, on improvements, after 10, 15, 20 years of doing 1%, you're going to have a catch-up period. And that's largely what this budget is saying, is that you can't do 1% investment in capital and not have a catch-up period at some point. So this budget does that. It's a fundamental shift, and all capital dollars here, we're allocating half of that increase in capital, is put into a separate fund. It's auditable. It's not going to go into slush. It's not overhead. It is just capital dollars, auditable, separate, independent, just like a water fund or a sewer fund. So when we say it's going to capital, we mean it, and we want people to check that. So things in here, hopefully trying to show the value of this proposal. What are the projects that really come out of this? So we highlighted a few here. The first is pipe relining. We're allocating, we're proposing $125,000 in year one, $625,000 over 5 years to go through and systematically reline pipes that are breaking down underground. And this is pretty cool new tech, but it's essentially think of it like an inside out sign. And it's fiberglass, but it's inside out. Air is pushed through it and it relines the inside of the pipe. So instead of having to dig up all the ground and replace this pipe's really expensive, you can go through and quickly reline our pipes. So this is really dealing with, frankly, not a very sexy part of the time, but a needed infrastructure, which is our water and sewer lines that are breaking down. Because every time water seeps through there, it's wasted dollars. It's not efficient. So this is helping to address that. Secondly, $130,000, investing $450 over 4 years in firefighting. This is an expensive project. When you dig up the fire hydrant, you have all the cleanup of the curb afterwards, the road, not to mention the fire hydrants themselves, which often don't have valves in them or they're broken. Funny story I've heard is that some are so old that the thread on them is a tenant-specific thread that was developed years ago, 50, 100 years ago, so that only certain people could operate. So you actually have to hire a machine to convert it for that. So like that's the level of infrastructure that we're working on, trying to catch up on it. And I'm sure that the mayor knows this well as anybody, but every time you have to send a water truck in a borough, you shouldn't have to. That's an extra cost. So whether we deal with these things or not, we're paying for those costs somewhere down the line. This is a police station build out. This is one of 3 efforts. We're really hopeful to get some grant funding here. Realistically, we need some to finish it. But I think this is an opportunity for us to invest, get a fully accredited station, make our force accredited, get them into the same home, and then sell our existing building. But again, this is something that it should be a really positive thing to take borough funds, match it with state and county funds, and make a really great operation at home for our this is trying to take the heart $50,000 a year for our parking garage. Now, in 2021, 2022, the council funded a repair to the infrastructure of our garage. So we were having cracks in major areas. We funded that. We completed that project. We're near completion now. This is saying, okay, we just did this. Next year, we're going to put $50,000 aside, and we're going to do minor repairs that are needed
And if we have extra, we're gonna put it aside into a fund, a reserve fund, because again, if you ever owned a home, you know that that first dollar in early maintenance is so much more valuable than catching up. And ideally, over the next 10 years, we're gonna build up a fund that will have to be able to fix the garage so that we don't get stuck getting behind the eight ball. This is investing $450,000 in street and now is 4.5 times increase the previous years. In the past, we put about $100,000 into street and alley maintenance, which is all coming from state gas tax dollars. So really none of our own dollars going into it. This is taking those taxes that we talked about and putting it into something that we've been told is a priority for this community. That intuitively walking around, riding around, we feel is a need. That's taking the money again, audit, separate fund, putting it into the areas that we feel like is needed. This is $143,000 to close the funding gap on Bird Street. We're calling it reconstruction. It's dealing with stormwater issues there. It's dealing with a road condition which was determined by professional engineers to be the worst road in town. So we had a professional study done and we're working backwards from the worst roads to the best roads. No favoritism is based on professional. This is a unique one. There's one other as well. $143,000 for borough money, and we get back 1.66 million in grants. So $1.8 million project, we're spending $143,000 of borough resident dollars. It's a good return. Efficiency improvements, $37,000 to electrify and clean our equipment. So think of the rising prices of gas. It's come down a bit, but it's still high. Take those, buy electric lawnmowers, buy electric reviews. It's so much cheaper, it's so much more efficient. And part of this is converting from the use of big trucks for every project. Let's use a smaller gator or a smaller side by side. Let's see if we can do, limit the cost of driving around a $50,000 truck, right? Let's do something with the $10,000 or $15,000 vehicle. And then, sorry, so back. The idea here is also, you talked a lot about the importance and necessity of grant dollars to close our funding gap. This is part of step one of the process to say, borough values electrification, greening of our fleet. Now we can ask for funding from the state and the county for solar panels to charge them, for some of these bigger efforts, because we're showing that this values, we're putting our own money. This is to connect a few parks. Again, it's $915,000 in grant funds. We're putting aside $165,000. So this would be coming out of our park impact fee, which for anyone who hasn't heard of that, when a developer builds a new complex, each unit they're paying set fee that's set aside, separate fund for parks. So this would be using some of those funds. We've got a couple $100,000 in there to connect parks with sidewalks. So safety, pedestrian focus, ways to move people from one part to another. And again, it's $165,000 borough amount of money, and we get back $915,000 in grant funds. So it makes sense to put our dollars into it to get the value for something that we need anyway. And then this is a new program that we're proposing, sidewalk reimbursement program, $100,000 of borough funds to be used as matching dollars. On the one hand, the stick is a stronger enforcement effort. So sidewalks that are broke down, that are unsafe, that frankly people keep tripping on. Stronger enforcement there, but on the other hand, the carrot is, okay, we'll match up to a certain amount per square foot the reconstruction of those sidewalks. So if the resident is willing to pitch in and cover half, the borough will cover half, and we want to redo the sidewalks in this borough. It's another way of stretching our dollars further. Part of this is a request that they convert from asphalt, to concrete, to more sustainable, longer lasting, lower maintenance products like a brick or stone or sand concrete. Because everything we're doing is trying to draw in outside funds to match, and we're trying to drive down our long-term maintenance. Because obviously you can see from our operating budgets, they are tight. Trying to figure that out. And that is it. Are there any questions? Really appreciate everybody's time on this, and we're welcome.
Do you think there's gonna be a lot of money from, outside people? I mean, you saw a sign today, I mean, you can, and you sue. Don't give it to them, they give you the money.
So this project is primarily based in the general fund. But you're right, I mean, that matches the whole idea here. If you're using services like sewer or parking, you should be paying for those services. That
If you upgrade something, they have to be on the sewer pipe capacity. And the sewer will go, you're gonna have to pay it. If not, you can't go until we do. You have to be firm about that. You have to be firm and say, we're not gonna pay for it. You want it now, if not, we'll do more for it. And do it by as a project basis. I think it's a good name for that.
I heard a lot. I didn't like lunch. Tell me right now, I didn't like it. You cannot fix overnight what you haven't done in over 30 years. You can't put that on the citizens like that. Citizens cannot pay faults. And I don't know who's thinking about that, but even $100 or $300 for a lot of citizens is a lot when their taxes go up. And I don't think you're thinking from a moderate to low income household. But see, sometimes too low income households make up that on household equations. And I don't think you're thinking like that. I think you're thinking from an upper middle class perspective from everything I hear here, and that's not fair to the citizens. We lose again. And other municipalities, I don't care what Goshen's doing. I don't care what those other people are doing. Phoenixville, whoever. I don't care who has the similar demographics that you're comparing it to. Because we weren't in trouble. And the more decisions you make, we're making more trouble. Because this budget is a suggestion for more trouble for citizens and to further entangle our debt. Because you can't solve debt until you decrease it. Even in your own house. I still haven't heard you talk about how we're going to decrease the debt we have that was unnecessarily put here, meaning this building. You're moving forward. So we can see we're being ignored. You're moving forward with it. And then you want to tell us about it's a terrible situation, 6.7 to 10.25, is that 3.50 increase? That's terrible. Shouldn't be proud of that. You cannot build a reserve overnight that you haven't done in over 20 years. It takes time. And it's a snowball as we go up there. And I can't say just throwing all this together and say this is what we're going to use it for. What are we on Birch Street again for? We have continually been on Birch Street since Hector was a pup. We have not gotten off Birch Street. And you want to talk about, well, we need to fix our other streets. We kept fixing Birch Street. You didn't fix one street other than Cypress in over 30 years. So we don't want to hear it because we're here with the history. We know what happened for the budget. We cannot afford this building. Decisions cost, and it hurts this town and the citizens, and you're continuing to compound that. Your irresponsible brainstorms, decisions, and actions are costing us. Okay? I see companies in power. But a lot of people don't. And you're going to make it so I won't. By the looks of this. It's just not enough cuts for all the damage that's been done to the citizens. Our police force is fine, it's ample. So that's not good because we had to replace some part-timers for some full-timers. We're ones we're not. You don't need a whole bunch of policemen. We had maybe up to 18. We used to run it on 5 to 7. And your population hasn't changed that much. Like I said, we have the county 911. We have the Chester County detectives. We have the Chester County prison. And the DA comes in and takes all of the evidence. So we don't need a lot of little electric box and all that cyber stuff that you're trying to hook us up with for $4 million. As far as I'm concerned, that police station can stay where it is, and you can start talking to the library that is old building. Because that's where you need to be. This is math. You just bought it, you want to start getting in the realty business. And some of you are realtors and developers and should be ashamed of yourself. Because that should be fine here. You're for citizens, and I haven't heard one thing that's not better with the citizens here. I needed a pie chart. I wanted the pie chart so I could see each section of our government, see what the increases were, and then you tell me why. I want to see the police station, which they say usually only took about half of our budget. Okay, that's always been. I want to see what the public works needs. It hasn't gotten any money in years because we were at Birch Street. Okay, that's real. We're not sitting here lying. We sat at every meeting here, but nobody else did. And it's ridiculous. I hope more people start coming, because you should have an opinion. Relining your pipes, I got study that. You know where I'll go? To another municipality and ask them all that study and learn, so I can come back and tell you why it's not perfect. I want to know about the store, what other people's doing, I went to the store. I already know about the store. But I want to know what other people's doing, so I made a visit to a place. But every contract you think you're renting for Kenton Township should be the same contract you get in Newport, just with a different name on it. We cannot do one thing for another, we can't do for somebody else. And you gave our surplus away to Newport. Oh, excuse me, Kenton Township. Then you want to come back with us, you got a problem. How do you keep giving our stuff away? 300 and some 80 years old, John. Something like that, 300 and some. And that was our surplus. We didn't have no problem. We did not have a problem in Kenton. The only thing we should be doing for Kenton Township, Newport, or any other municipality is get the general contract that applies to all of them in the same way. Secondly, what we should be doing is charging them more for their hookups. For their hookups. Then I want you to look around your own town for those accessory dwelling units, because I'm going to look around, I'm going to the tax office. And also everybody who's built their backyard. I want to see if they're paying a separate tax on that thing that's there in their yard. I want to see if they subdivide it or secured it as a second dwelling where it shouldn't be if it's in R1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on the description of the zoning. And that's what we got to do. Because we want their money, they pay EDU. But you know, people build houses and towns in back of their houses, and we're saying, protect us. That shouldn't be happening. Protect us, please. And you know, it all goes back to the budgets. The fire hydrants were done once. There may be a couple old ones, but they were done. We heard that story before. We'll put it this way: the money was not allocated, now it wasn't done. Because we don't know what to believe no more. We're told one thing, we hear, you know, nothing. So that's very confusing. I don't know, $450,000 increase street alley maintenance. If you haven't done it, you can't go at that fast. And I'm sorry to hear about all what the grants are going to do. We hear all about what the grants want to do, but then we're still stuck with debt. Okay? We're still stuck with debt. Please bring us back to the citizens. You need to go over that again. You just have to. Electrify. You got to talk to some more boys besides the ones that work for you. I don't know how that's going to pay in that. Electrifying stuff. I know gas is high right now, but you got to check that one out too. I don't know if that's the best thing when you're trying to do large scale work. Liquid fuels, we don't even know where that's been spent over these years. Must have been Birch Street. No other street was done, except Sickle. So our sickle was recently done, right?
It's on the hours. That's where.
I was just still have the money, but sickle wasn't, we said it was done, but it wasn't, mill wasn't taken down, it must have just been tired, paid that way. For the people with your sidewalks, no can do. No can do. If you can afford it, give it. Now, what you want to do is go to the county and ask them where the community development block grants are. That's what you want to do. And that's what past councils have done. They want to look for financing options that would not hurt the people and be able to give an affordable amount for them to pay back if they had to repay. We can't give money away. We can't match with them. Let the county do that. They have community development block grant money, and that's HUD money. They also have the weatherization program. And if we had a bulletin, you would be able to put that out to the citizens twice a year and remind them where they could go because the counties even dissect that. And they've been giving it to developers, and it hasn't been used in the right place. It's time we get on with that right away to the community development office to see where you spent your money. Have been able to get them to come to work. But I'm working on it. Went over there and call them. This is what you do when you do your homework. Please check this out. This don't hurt citizens. And it looks to me like you're trying to drive certain groups out of the town.
Any other comments? Smith, 5.49 Melody Street, comment. I thought that was a really clear and complex way of under a lot of urgent needs and hard decisions. So I just want to thank the council and our staff for and finish.
I just want to say a couple of words as the chair of the finance committee. Like it or not, we're where we are. Like it or not, we're where we are. We as a group, 7 people, have to decide what the budget next year is going to be and the year after. And I'm not faulting or blaming anyone. It's we're where we own this building. Like it or not, we own this building. Like it or not, we have infrastructure around town which is falling apart. I'm being dramatic. We're not going to fall into a hole tomorrow, but there's a lot of things. If not, you said it's been 30 years over in Cypress Street. It's been a long time since we've invested in our infrastructure, in our roads, in our alleys. We hear every other month, and our alleys. You're right. Our actual needs from a capital standpoint are about $2 million a year. This 1.75 mil increase is a down payment. It doesn't catch us up. It only gets us going in that direction. We need a lot more. We need 10 mils. If we want to fund, allow me to talk. We allowed you. We need about 10 mils only for infrastructure, for capital improvements. We can't do that, but that's what the $2 million would cost, right? Each mill is about $200,000, Lisa. 250. Each mill is about $250,000. We are sick to our stomachs over having to consider a $3.5 million. It's horrible. It's a lousy situation for us to be in, but tough. We want to be up here. We have to face the hard choices. And the hard choices are we have roads, we have sewers, we have buildings, we have machines that have not been paid for, not been cared for when they should be. So that's where we are right now. And that's a real tough situation for us to be in, but tough. We got elected, we wanted to be up here, we have to do what we have to do. We can continue to push that down the road. And as Kyle said, we know the impact on everyone, not just people that are well off enough to be able to afford it without being concerned by it. We understand that if we do this, that we are going to hurt people to the extent that they may not be able to afford to live in the county. But I think we're kidding ourselves to think Kent is an affordable town. It's not an affordable town the way it was 10 or 15 years ago. It's become a much, much more expensive town to live in. But it's part of the success that our forefathers did in terms of developing the beauty and fun and so forth that we have in town. But we have to pay for that, or else we're not gonna get out of the hole that we're in right now as a town. And it's difficult for us to have to face that, but we're gonna have to do something to improve the capital infrastructure that we're not supporting right now. And you can debate whether you want a better or worse police station. But right now, the guys and gals that serve us are in a horrible situation. It's a very unprofessional police station in my consideration. I did a lot of work on this in New Garden Township. I'm not suggesting we spent $11 million like they did on the police station. But where we are right now is totally unprofessional for what a modern police station should look like. This building is a very tough situation for us to be in. The amount of maintenance that we're going to have to do on this building, it's a beautiful building, but it's an old building. And I am in real estate, and some other folks are here in the audience. To be able to maintain this building is going to cost us a whole lot of money and a whole lot of time and people who we really don't have. You know, it's the numbers are daunting, and we apologize for even considering this. But we think, or at least some of us think, it's irresponsible for us not to consider what we have to do to finally catch up, not in one full swoop, but at least to start to make an aid in that direction to get us more fiscally responsible than we have been over here. Thank you.
Are there other potential income earners or ways to raise money that's not increasing the
Not that we've seen that, not that we've seen. We looked at that, looked at it department by department basis, and those are still some plays that we want to do. You know, you've seen the increase, we're looking at an increase in permits, rental permits. We're looking at making sure that the safety of rentals is much better than it is. It's not a revenue source, but it's probably will increase a little bit. We look, I mean, if anyone has ideas of how we can better improve the income side, the revenue side, we are all ears and we love it.
What's the difference between including the millage versus or touch on earned income tax?
Yeah, so basically there's an earned income tax, there's a local share tax, and there's a realty transfer tax. Those combined with the property tax are four main ones. The borough's already at the state limit for each of those three. The earned income tax is the tax on the income that the person living there, you know, is making. The property tax is at least supposed to be based on the value of the home.
So we're not able to raise 1%. So like income would be on what people are earning.
Right, but our rates are already at the allowable max for borough.
We're not left.
With the transfer taxes, could, you know, when you sell a house, is there any play in terms of that? But again, there's no state flexibility.
You could have your own transfer, you could increase your transfer tax. But the only people that hurts are folks on the affordable side, it makes the cost of housing, you know, local federal. They haven't increased. Coastal City has a higher transfer tax, right? And it's very difficult for home buyers who have to pay for additional closing costs. If you got an additional 1% of closing costs on a buyer, and they're buying their entry level home, you're adding another $3,000, $4,000 for closing costs. And most folks that are buying affordable housing are putting down 3%, 4% to begin with. You're putting in the pass-through expenses more than what they're even putting down in down payment. So transfer tax, the only people that's going to hurt are people that are income.
We're capped at what we have for the transfer tax. The city of Coatesville and some other areas, because they're under the city code, we're under the borough code, they have different flexibilities. Even some areas that are Act 47 distressed have some more flexibility to increase those. But I believe we're at our cap in terms of what the borough code allows us to do for the realty transfer tax.
been an article in the paper about that. Actually, you know, and maybe get the blessing from public. I'll tell you, like you said about it. I'll tell you why you get better.
We should report this year. Love for us to get more coverage than we do. I don't know how we can't get coverage.
Well, comparable with the text like prices, you know,
I think it's going up.
Yeah, we're, sorry, I just missed that. We're gonna put out a press release tomorrow that explains what we talked about tonight.
and that's where you get,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. Off the top of my head, but we might be able to do that.
Violence.
This is the issue.
Oh, okay, so I'm not gonna be able to get.
You could, that's it. That's fine.
There's three of us that to participate. And one of them, perhaps, the two, I mean, yeah. We can take it out.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
They want to make it a top what they think, but they want to make it it's out. Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for having us here to present today. And I love Westtown. We are Westchester and Kent Square. So I'm Angeline May, and this is my dad, Richard May. We're from Westchester. And here with Michael Hahn, who is the new executive director of the Kent Flash and a Kent president. We have together put in a proposal to build a performance venue here. The two of us together to start on a journey where I want to invite you to imagine a space dedicated to arts and culture. I want to invite you to imagine that you have sat down in a comfy seat and in front of you, a performance is about to begin. Is it dance? Is it music? Is it theater? Or is it something entirely different? The reason for this space is to create a place that the people of Kennett can join together. Now, I just mentioned that Richard and I are from Westchester. So why are we here? Well, we're here because Kennett has a thriving downtown business. It is a place full of restaurants, shops, and shows. But really the reason we're here is because of the people. We have found that people here are engaged and invested, not just with their dollars, but with their time and their hearts. And we've noticed that they're very welcoming to their new neighbors while still preserving critically important old ways and traditions. But even more than that, we are very much aware of a desire for an ever more vibrant and healthy community where everyone feels at home. So this place that we'd love to create together with the people of Kennett Square is a place to come and feel delighted together. Because arts make our lives better. Arts are good for people, they're good for business, and they're good for community. So first I'm going to hand the mic over to my dad, Richard May, to tell you a little bit about the vision of the hub and where this vision comes from.
Thank you, Angeline. We neglected to say at the very start that we are two of the 5 co-founders of the Uptown Entertainment Alliance in Westchester, which brought a performing arts center to our borough, our neighbor, your neighbor, our borough, back in 2017. Just like in 2020, just like in 2011, when a small group of us got together and pledged to each other that we would work tirelessly until we were able to bring a performing arts center to the borough. We have had the same pledging to each other that we'll work tirelessly, not only to bring a performance venue to Kennett Square, but also one to Coatesville, and then hopefully coordinate programming across the county. It all began back in with the Uptown model began by looking at the Drayton entertainment model. In Drayton, Ontario, there's a small theater that was established in the town of Drayton, Ontario, back about 20 years ago by one gentleman. And he had a successful operation there, tried a second theater in a neighboring town, and then basically built a performance group of 6 to 7 theaters they've become the second largest arts group in the country of Canada. And amazing model that we try to emulate it to the extent possible. There's also a model, the Lewis Center in Princeton, New Jersey, which had a lot of pop-up performances in various venues in anticipation of ultimately building a performance center, which is now the state-of-the-art performance center, part of the university, and amazing story over a 20-year period that opened about 5 years ago. Part of what we were doing is having a lot of conversations in the borough, trying to identify exactly who we were doing this for, what we were going to do, and where we were going to do it. And often the question came up, where is this performance venue going to be? And we, in arriving in Tennis Square, we were open to that question. We talked to a lot of people over the last year and a half. And when the opportunity came to present a vision, the space here at 600 South Broad Street loomed large as a prospective performance venue. And we're looking forward to working on that. In Westchester, the model that we had was quite successful. We spent 5 years raising capital, building the performance center, and then opening the theater. There were many groups that we worked with in getting there. And the success that we achieved, not only financial success, but also bringing many as many as 200 people into the downtown to see a performance. A lot of them stayed and had dinner in town and visited some of the shows and other services in town. So again, our chief mission is to celebrate and promote the arts and celebrate and preserve the culture. And by culture, I don't just mean to produce cultured people, to basically preserve the culture that community has. And the Square has a very distinctive and a culture that should be preserved. And we'll work very closely with the people in the borough to preserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. The project in Westchester just could not have happened without the countless conversations and alliances and partnerships that we formed in that 4-year period, where we were constantly asking, who needs to be a part of this? Who do we need to create this for? And in the end, when we launched with 10 companies that just represented a massive amount of the different communities within Westchester. So that's the same vision that we would see bringing to Kennett, would be our experience in facilitating those kinds of conversations and our knowledge about what it has taken to create a, high quality performance venue that is standing the test of time and based on models that have really worked and grown and supported people in those communities in the past. And so when we looked out across Chester County, we were looking for a place where people are committed to quality, they're committed to growth, but they're also committed to all of their people. And what that means is that the kind of impact we can have is in supporting arts organizations like the Flash, but also being able to really build bridges within Kennett Square and then across Chester County. So Richard and I see ourselves as really here to be helpful and to be supportive of the existing arts organizations, the people who are already doing amazing special things here. And so that just meant that we had to reach out to the Flash. And so I want to welcome Michael to tell us a bit about the Flash's history and where it's going.
Good evening. As Angeline said, my name is Michael. I was hired as the executive director of Kennett Flash just this past August. I have lived in Kennett Square area community for about 10 years, a little more than 10 years now. And my background is in music and theater and nonprofit arts administration. So I've been a creator, a designer, a technician, and an administrator in all of those aspects. For those of you who don't know, the Kenneth Flash is a nonprofit performing arts organization right here in downtown Kenneth Square that operates an all ages, stage-centered, cafe-style listening room that showcases local, regional, and national talent. The new mission of the Kenneth Flash, or I should say the updated mission of the Kenneth Flash, is to be a leader in Southern Chester County, providing culturally diverse and high-quality performing arts performances and education for all. In the past 10 years, the Flash has proven itself to be committed to quality and is now very much ready to grow and become a catalyst in Kenneth Square. The late Dennis Melton founded the Flash with the idea to create a listening room where audiences and artists could experience high quality concerts and performances that truly provide a transformative opportunity for everyone who's involved. It's an opportunity for audiences to be up close and personal with the arts, but also provides artists, both amateur and professional, with opportunities to perform in a high quality venue for an attentive audience. With the current dedicated board that we have and the new executive director of the Flash is really set to move forward, evolve, and create new programming. We have a deepened commitment to the listening room, so we're not looking to build a gigantic venue of 500 seats. Right now, our capacity is 100, and 100, 200, that's really a sweet spot for that sort of intimate experience. We want a space that can mold to the Flash, as opposed to our current iteration. Really, the Flash kind of had to be molded to the space that it's in. And as far as programming, my goal is very much to honor the places that the Flash has been, the audiences they have served, but also introducing new, diverse programming to invite in new audiences in the community, as well as initiatives surrounding education and outreach with other local Kenneth organizations. This increases the access, increases our ability to serve those fellow local organizations and also the entire community, not just one demographic. So really being a nonprofit arts organization is all about serving the community. And it is my belief that if you are not serving the entire community, then you're missing out on opportunities to really connect and grow and change and learn together.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah. So how would this happen? What is the proposal? We envision a high quality performance venue that is that hub for arts and culture, a place to promote arts and preserve the cultures within the communities of Kenneth Square. Looking at 600 South Broad, our proposal includes two places, the main building and the annex. There are two phases to this, and the first phase is critical to the long-term success. The first phase allows us to get quickly operational. It also brings the Flash into the main building and allows it to start on that trajectory of growth, but also gives us the space and time to integrate programming with groups that are already functioning in Kenneth, and also bringing some from greater Chester County. And the reason for that is so that we can truly understand what is it that the Kenneth community really resonates with. What is the right, perfect mix of programming and genres that are going to really satisfy the Kenneth Square community. Also, in this first critical phase, we're able to really understand what it is that the eventual refit needs to look like. You know, as Michael just said, they needed to adjust themselves into their space. But it is entirely transformative for the artists and the audience when you are actually in a space that has been designed in order to really enhance that full experience. In addition, that critical first phase is where we are operational. We have programs running. This means that we're able to reach farther into the funding structures that allow for the long-term sustainability of a fully practicing, high-quality performance venue. So phase one is happening. We're understanding what is the right mix, who are the right partners, how are we fully serving this community? And while that's happening, and we're understanding that, we're able to start to build phase two, which is the refit of the annex. So this repurposed building is then set to be able to accommodate those genres and that programming appropriately. It's also set up so that we can be adjusting in a blended approach to the other ways in which this property is being developed and ensure that we are fitting in with those other uses, but also ensuring that the community is fully served. This drawing is an example. It's an idea. This isn't what the final product will look exactly like because we haven't gone through that critical phase one yet to understand what does Kennett need? How do we serve this full population? And what do those genres require technically? But with the experience that we've had and the learnings and advice that we've had from other exceptional venues out there, like Drayton, we believe that it will be, it very much might be very similar to this. On the first level, you're able to see the listening room type style of the Kennett Flash. You also are able to see raked seating for a theater style performance venue, which is what you'd see at a sort of Broadway-like or musical theater production. And then there's other spaces that need further envisioning. So we believe that the highest and best use of 600 South Broad Street is to create that space for arts and culture that will support the Flash as it grows and will be a space where all members of the Kennett Square community are not only feeling welcomed, but embraced. And as I said, this cannot happen without the Kennett Square community. It is because of the Kennett Square community that this sort of community catalyst can be built. And Richard and I are here to help set that in motion and then step back and allow and be a part of enabling the Kennett community to take this where it needs to go. So, we're running over, but there are a couple questions that we always get, and I wanted to put them to Michael and Richard if we have a couple more minutes. Okay, sorry. All right, so the first question is going to go to Michael. So one of the questions that comes up a lot is if you're creating an arts and theater venue, people think of like big lousy concerts and lots of things. So how do you respond to that?
So the Flash, even in its current state on Sycamore Alley, has never really had much of a problem with sound, and we even share a wall with La Verona. And that's just because, again, of the technicians and the knowledge that they put into forming that space to be a high-quality sound venue. So in a situation like this, where you're actually molding the space to suit the needs from the onset, exterior noise is not really going to be an issue.
And Richard, how does it get funded?
Oh, what we did in Westchester was an interesting model, some of which can probably be done here. It was a unique combination of 4 different funding sources. There were individual investors who bought shares of an LLC who was able to take historic tax credits part of their return in order to preserve the National Guard Armory in Westchester. Then there were contributions that contributed about 40% of the cost of the structure. There was some government funding, not very much, but it contributed between 5 and 10%. The balance was borrowed from local banks. In fact, we were thrilled that after 5 years, our original $2 million worth of borrowing has been reduced to $300,000. So hopefully maybe that same wonderful thing that happened with the Borough as well as with you.
Great. And, Michael, so you guys have been up in the State Street area. Why Broad Street?
Broad Street, I think, presents a unique opportunity to, besides obviously having a space to sort of build and call your own, to access more aspects of the community. Really, the Flash has 0 street visibility right now. And there's a lot of music in Kennett Square. There's bars, everyone has, bands playing in the bars and in restaurants and on the streets. And so State Street kind of has its own identity in that way, but it's still not quite the same as having a listening room for intimate concerts. In addition, doing something like the Flash on State Street itself, I think also would provide additional traffic flows on State Street. So kind of having a dedicated space, parking lot is pretty good. But right now, we don't really have very good parking for Flash.
And Richard, how long will this take?
The Westchester project took more than 5 years, but we learned a lot, and we also, in Westchester, we had to get zoning approval. We actually created a cultural district for us, which didn't exist, but Harvard was actually in the residential area. But I would imagine that in addition to getting the Flash up and running quickly, that theater could be operating within 3 years.
Right. And I have one last question for both of you, which is, why is this a good idea?
Let me try first. This is a wonderful community, and we're thrilled. We're working with some lovely people in Coastal as well, some of which are here tonight to see what's happening down in Kennett. But we really feel kinship with our neighbors in Kennett Square. We did it in Westchester. I don't see any reason that it shouldn't be done.
Michael?
For me personally, one thing that I love about the hub idea and the project is that each area and venue still retains its own identity. What we do here is not necessarily influenced by what works at Uptown, and what they do in Coatesville will not be demanded because it worked in Kennett Square, anything like that. So really tapping into what the community needs and what the organizations help us figure out is important. And on a broader scale, I feel like the arts just make life better. I think we really sort of realized throughout the pandemic, when we were all stuck at home, we had music, we had TV, and we had streaming, and all that was actors and artists and just beauty that was still able to be a part of our lives, because that's what the arts do for us spiritually, and now healing afterwards, connecting in person on a personal level is what the arts do too.
And that is one, you mentioned the pandemic, this idea of a hub for arts and culture that could extend across the county came up during the pandemic, in part because we looked at across all of these different arts organizations that were struggling uniquely and independently, and say, what could we do to be able to be creating a network that can connect each other to, rely on each other for resources and et cetera, that can actually be extended out across the county. So, when we see these 3 initial legs of this greater vision being Westchester, Kennett, and Coatesville, it's the first step towards being able to really be an inclusive web across the county and be able to keep our arts and culture strong and stable and perhaps weather the next challenge that comes our way. So I want to just thank you guys for letting us be here to present today. And our next steps are just so many more conversations. There's so many more people that we haven't talked with yet in Tenet. I mean, I feel like we're just very opened up, there's so many more people here that we need to have conversations with to truly understand, how to bring that coalition together. More collaborations. I'm currently working with the Tenet Library to share my experience of creating Tenet Westchester because the library is interested in that. So collaborations can start right away. We have ChesterCountyArtsCulture.com is our website, and we're going to start updates this month. So please join our email list, and we will be at the Tenet Arts Festival October 15th and 16th. So stop by and please share your thoughts. Your thoughts are what matter most in this design. Thank you.
And if you've never, I just wanted to say, if you lived in Tenet and you've actually never been to the Tenet Flash, we have a show this Saturday night. And I would love to see you there to actually experience what I'm talking about when I say that it is truly transformative to be able to have this sort of intimate experience in a high quality atmosphere.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have two questions. One is, Richard, you're set up as a not-for-profit, correct?
We have a foundation that we've had for 25 years. That's going to be the fiscal agent for what we're hoping to be as a public charity, which is out for our culture. We're going to file as a public charity, be raising capital through our private foundation for ultimate funding that organization.
So the skeptic in me says, really, 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 why are you doing this? What's the passion? What's the drive? Why are you in? I mean, you're doing a great thing in Westchester based on, and we've met a couple of times in different presentations, but peel it, why are you really, really doing this?
It's sort of a calling for me. And I feel very inspired having talked to some of the folks in Coatesville, and we were received with such warmth in Tenet when we first started coming here, that we've actually put the Tenet project ahead of the Coatesville project. And this, it just happened that this project with 600 South Broad Street seemed like it was a little bit meant to be.
Why is it so important to you?
I think I'd like to leave something to make the world a little better than when I came. And maybe I've done that once in Westchester, but I think I have a couple of good years left. So I'm going to try to take advantage.
Good for you. My last question is, your proposal is standalone. You doing it sort of on your own with the borough, but it's also combined with the larger project that was presented last month. Do you have a preference as to which one? Meaning you go alone versus you go with the other group that presented last month?
Well, when we first walked around, saw the annex, and we moved inside and saw the main building. And we were with a group of Flash board members and technicians. They were so excited about both spaces. So our initial proposal to you was going to be permanently locating both in the main building and in the annex. And when we heard about the other proposals out there and the interest in the main building, we said, okay, well, how can we shift this around so that we could be submitting something that could be done as a blended approach? And so really, at the end of the day, we want to enable this to occur with whichever additional, whatever other users would be engaged. So I think we don't have a preference. We're excited to keep talking and seeing how this can be.
Again, it's about serving the community. So if the community puts one higher than the other, we're excited to be part of it.
But I guess my question, and maybe you've answered already, I'm sorry, is do you want to go with the Bo Jeff concept, or do you want to go it alone if they don't do it?
We are not, we can go either way.
Okay, thanks.
We've had a couple of meetings with Bo and Jeff, and we feel they were sharing a vision.
Yeah, we'll certainly see how they can be integrated.
Then there is a question. The other proposal keeps up a lot of the parking. I like the culture idea of culture center. You said it. If you don't have the parking, then you're gonna have problems. I like the idea of the culture center by itself with many different vendors where you maybe you can teach art. I mean, there are a lot of things you can do here to have a lot of parking. And you know, so how that really, if you leave the whole marketing, then what do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only response, and that is a legitimate concern, is our use is going to be mostly after hours. So to the extent that the borough has a certain amount of parking during the day, that won't be utilized at night, and we won't be competing with borough employees or residents coming to Borough Hall.
No, I don't think, I said with the other proposal, the community, they will build it. And it's not gonna be on a parking. And the good of the day, you don't have a lot of people. So I don't think that would be a problem. Evening, you know, and then that's a nice thing to have around it. Just to community safety with that. I like the idea of all natural culture. I mean, we're out to really good. And there's so many things to be done.
Are there any final comments? Anybody want to?
We want to stay. I'll make a motion.
Thank you all again.
Yeah. I'll go fight.
Yeah.
We know the funny.
All right,